I'm Stewart A. Swerdlow for Expansions.com, and this is my news podcast for the first week in January 2012. So Happy New Year to everybody. And I know that last week my podcast that mentioned Ron Paul caused a lot of controversy, and that was not my intention. Most of my viewers and readers know that I personally have no political motivation or alignment whatsoever. In fact, it's my opinion that the political system in the United States is absolutely archaic and needs to be revamped, and I disagree with the entire political system, and I support no candidate who's running for any high office anywhere. So I just report information, and it's up to the viewers and readers to make their own decisions on whether or not they agree or disagree or feel neutral about it. I personally feel neutral about it and simply report the information and maybe make a comment or two, but certainly it was not my intention to seem like I was against anyone or supporting anyone in any manner. So I hope that I have clarified that somewhat. Next thing that's been going on, many of you have heard about the terrible shooting on Mount Rainier in Washington State, where a former Army person, only 24 years old, who had been sent to Iraq, a vet, murdered a forest ranger in the park. Apparently, he had shot 4 people, didn't kill them, but shot 4 people in the town of Skyway, Washington, and that's an interesting name, Skyway, and then to go to Mount Rainier, where he was supposedly going to hide out, but because of a roadblock, shot the ranger and killed her, 34 years old mother of 2. Then he vanished into the woods, and there was 4 to 5 feet of snow on the ground, so he was having difficulty hiding, but yet they still couldn't find him. But eventually, they found his body face down on an icy creek, and they said he didn't commit suicide, but rather died of the elements. I think the story is rather strange. I think a person like that who survived the war in Iraq, who knew how to use weapons, who was very good in the outdoors, don't seem possible that he just would have died from the elements. Something more going on there. To me, it was a ritual sacrifice on Mount Rainier. A man and a woman, both related to military or authorities in some way. Perhaps it has to do with a volcano appeasing the gods, who knows, but something definitely is going on there in Washington State that we need to keep an eye on. Another thing that's been going on is NASA has sent a spacecraft to the moon, and the interesting thing is this moon orbiter is called the Grail probe, and this Grail probe is going to scan the dark side of the moon and what's in the moon. And according to the commentator on CNN who was describing this particular event, he said, "Only God knows what we'll find." I thought that was an interesting comment. Also very fascinating, what happened just after New Year's was human remains were found on the royal estate in Norfolk, England, while the Queen and her husband and her grandchild and his wife were in residence. The body was of a female. It apparently had been murdered, and there are no more details being given out by the police. So, well, one thing we can say, it wasn't eaten, but then again, they didn't say the condition of the body or whether it was clothed or not, just that it was a female body, apparently just laying on the ground on the estate of the royal family. Interesting information coming out of Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. A study there has shown that brain implants actually can help people with mental illnesses. According to this report, if you allow yourself to have this brain implant, it will help your depression, bipolar syndrome, suicide tendencies, OCD, and it is safe and effective. So make sure you rush out there and get your brain implants. And as we know, doctors in the US and I think in Europe are making sure that all people are depressed and giving them antidepressants. That's the first thing they ask. You can go in with a heart attack and they'll ask if you're depressed. And that's what they are trying to do, get people to want the brain implants so that they can feel better. And now there's a study that proves you can be better mentally with this brain implant. I also wanted to let you know that my radio show, Infinite Realities, has been renewed for 2012 on Wolfsburg Radio. And my first show will be on January 22nd from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And the guest will be Gary the Numbers Guy. He is a numerologist who is very, very wise in understanding how numbers work. We'll get some predictions for 2012. Those of you who have any questions for Gary the Numbers Guy, please email me at expansions@expansions.com, and please put in the subject line that these are questions for the radio show so that they don't go elsewhere to Q&A, etc. So please make sure you do say that. I also look forward to seeing you all this month here in January for the 1 week long training for the OMG class. There's still a couple of seats left, and it's going to be a really interesting class because I'm going to be adding information that I haven't added before, especially in relation to the Fourth Reich and the Kuiper Belt groups that are out there. And that's what I have for you today. So until next time, this is Stewart A. Swerdlow for expansions.com.